Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning. I would like to welcome everyone present in the Chamber and those listening online to the Greater Lincolnshire Combined County Authority Audit Committee. This is the second meeting of this committee. I would like to thank members for their contributions at the first meeting. It was very useful. Today is the next step in the development of this committee. This committee is apolitical with a shared objective to provide a specialist forum to support and monitor the authority in the areas of governance, risk management, external audit, internal audit and other related areas. Can I remind those in attendance that the audio-visual feed of this meeting is being broadcast live via the GLCCA website. Can I ask the Democratic Services Officer if we're expecting a fire drill at all? Right, that's fine. So, should the fire alarm activate, please follow the officers to the evacuation point. We will now move on to the formal agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence, please.
Thank you, Chairman. We've received apologies from Councillor Alan Beale, who will be replaced by Councillor Mary Green today. Thank you.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Do members wish to declare any interest at all, please? Thank you. Moving on to item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Can we take the minutes as a whole on pages 5 and 10 in the agenda pack? I'd like to invite members for any comments about the minutes, please. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm speaking on behalf of Councillor Beale, who isn't here today. I think he's found a little bit of a sermon on this one, so apologies if it's a bit long-winded. In relation to page 6...
Could you lift the microphone up, please? Sorry, I'm hard of hearing, so I have difficulty sometimes.
Sorry. In relation to page 6 of the minutes, on our page 6 on our agenda, it is bullet point 3, and Councillor Beale was wondering, surely it would be simple for the manager to advise which was statutory and which was not in relation to that point. Is that a possible thing to do, or can it be looked at for future?
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Chair. Are you wanting for the Constitution to state which parts are statutory and which points are local choice? Is that what the request is?
I think the request is that the actual manager who's doing it can stipulate so that it is in the Constitution, so that people know it immediately when they're reading it which is a statutory one and which isn't.
Shall I need to come back on that, Chair? Do you want me to come back?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So in order to set that out in the Constitution, that is a fairly large piece of work to do. It's not impossible to do if obviously you, all members here will have constitutions for their own authorities. They will understand that it's an evolving document, that it's produced over a long period of time, and actually the review of it is quite a significant job to do. It's not impossible to do that, but that would be a choice of the monitoring officer. So I would take that back, and I will have a discussion with the monitoring officer, and I'm happy to provide an update to the next committee on that issue.
Thank you. If I may indulge you, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
If we move on to point 4, there was concern that the manager could clearly be going out of their known authority, and if so, why, by the time that the possible unacceptable risk is looked at by the audit committee, it could be too late and the damage has been done. Is that something that rings a bell, or could we look at that?
We can look at that.
For clarity, Councillor, could you let me know which bullet point you're looking at?
Sorry, it was bullet point 4.
bullet point 4 in regarding to relevant chairs.
Yeah, clarification was sought on the proposed amendment, which would allow the committee to receive assurances on progress to implement recommendations, including concerns where managers have accepted risks that the authority may find unacceptable. I think the councillor's concern was, why are those managers accepting risks, and what is their actual remit? Have they got a specific remit and they would know when to pass on that risk to a higher authority, or would it be something that they would take themselves, in which case it would be outside of their remit and damage could have been done if that was the case?
Thank you. Can I ask if that's something we need to look at now, or if we can come back at a later meeting, please?
Sorry, I'm struggling to find the relevant paragraph.
No problems at all.
Page 6 of the pack in the minutes section.
Yeah.
If I may, Chair, I was present at that meeting. I think that was a straightforward process, because the internal audit raises the risk, the manager either accepts it or not, and then that gets reported to us. And the process seemed pretty robust, actually. Managers are entitled to accept risk. It's part of their job as officers. So, but then that needs to be scrutinised by us, and I think that was quite clear at the discussion last time.
I think there's also the other element as well, and that is that internal audit, correct me if I'm wrong, have a role that if they identify that managers are taking unacceptable risks, then that's reported to the committee as part of the global internal audit standards.
So I think as an internal audit function, we don't state the recommendations. That's not for us to do. We identify what the finding is, what the associated risk is. It's then up to the officers and the authority to decide what action they need to take to remedy the repeat of that risk. So it's not for us to say what they will or won't do, because that's not our area of expertise. Our area of expertise is in identifying the problem and the resultant consequences that comes from that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Was that all the questions that you had?
I'd just like to propose them as a true and accurate record. I've been through them, very accurate, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor.
Right, thank you, Chair. Yes, I quite agree that they are an accurate and true record, also having been at the last meeting. There's just a couple of things that I would like to raise. So on page 7, it says the third bullet point down. In some ways, it would help if the we didn't have bullet points, that they were actually numbered. But it does say that members requested that the risk register of the authority be made available, and we were assured it would be considered at the next meeting of the committee. I'm not sure that that's the case. That's the first thing I've got to say, if you want to take that first.
We can discuss that as part. We can discuss that as part of the work programme. Obviously, the organisation is moving forward at the present time, and there's a lot of change taking place. We'll pick that up with the work programme. Thank you.
Yes, I do understand that. It's just that it was actually in the minutes. Yeah. And the second thing is the point that I raised, and other members concurred with what I said. And again, it relates to page 7. And this time it's the first bullet point. And it's about the fact that as an internal audit team, then there haven't been there's no indication of the number of days that the audit team will spend on audits. And I think that this will certainly, in the council I represent here, then every year there is, we're told how many days the internal audit team will spend on their work. So I still see that as an issue. And I'm also a little bit concerned when if an audit investigation, if it's proving a little bit more difficult, then it says that the additional days would generally not incur any extra charges. And to me that doesn't seem sort of tight enough. It's so when will they incur extra charges, you know, after how many days and so forth. So to me, I'd just rather see that it was all a little bit more laid out exactly what was happening. But I understand that this is a relatively new committee, and as time progresses then some of these things will be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. To answer your point, the internal audit plan, correct me if I'm wrong, is a forecast of the resources that's required, and that forecast is made prior to the start of the audit year. From experience, we never know how long an audit is actually going to take until probably the end of the audit. And to counter that and to provide the control on that, as we have in the agenda today, the head of internal audit provides an update on the audits that's taken place and the resources that's been used. Correct me if I'm wrong, with regard to the charging has been agreed between Lincolnshire County Council and GLCCA, hasn't it?
Yes, so we have an SLA in place between the Audit Service and the Greater Authority. That stipulates the number of days that they will be charged for throughout the year. We have the flexibility to say this audit was planned for 30 days, it's only taken 20 days, so we'll utilise the additional 10 days on X, Y and Z. It is poor practice nowadays to report the number of days that you're doing, because it's about the flexibility to take you where those risks that we identify as part of our audit assessment take us. So if we say we are going to do X number of days on the first audit, that doesn't allow us to then respond to something that may come in later in the year, that may arise as part of the ongoing risk assessment or the dialogue that we have with the Section 73 and the Head of Paid Service. So it allows us to have that flexibility. The number of days is stipulated, and if there were a need because we found something that was considerably worrying or something that we couldn't facilitate within our resource plan, that would be a discussion with the 73 and the Head of Paid Services to talk about how we're going to flex the plan, or are they going to pay additional resource for us to fully explore the aspects that we're finding. It's easy for me to say as a head of audit, but it's not an area of concern because we do have the resource under control from an audit perspective as well as from a provision of payment perspective.
Okay, I'll leave it there then. I'll keep an eye on it. Thank you.
I think to add a further comment, the internal audit plan, as we say, is a forecast, and it's very fluid, and it's very fast moving, and it has to adapt to many different challenges. There's also a part of the internal audit approach these days called agile auditing, correct me if I'm wrong, whereby we don't necessarily start with an audit plan. We start to look at the risks and we take a completely different approach to rigid timescales in an audit plan. So there is a lot changing in internal audit. The most important thing from the committee is that we receive the level of assurance that we require. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to formally second the minutes so that we can vote on them. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So can we move on to the internal audit progress report? Sorry, can we have those in favour first, please? Thank you. My apologies. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. My apologies. Move on to the internal audit plan, please. Claire?
Thank you, Chair. So this is the first of the audit progress reports for the committee, following your request to have a progress report at each meeting. The report meets the global internal audit standards and shares the role of internal audit alongside the purpose of the report and our outcome classifications. We issue feedback forms from every completed audit, and the outcome of those are shared with the audit committee to inform areas that we understand from a service perspective, but also allow us to develop anything for our auditors or within our methodology. Figure 1 on page 5 shows the areas that we seek information from, and this will be populated as we go forwards. We haven't got any data because we haven't finalised an audit as yet. Page 6 of the report shares the progress that's been made in delivering the plan as at the time that the report was drafted, and progress is in line with expectation, with 45% of the programme being delivered, and that will be 55% being delivered and 45% being started within quarter 3 and quarter 4. There is one audit report that has been issued in draft. The closure meeting is scheduled for next week. An adequate rating has been awarded for that, and that's looking at legal compliance. Based upon the findings, the areas where we found those findings are wholly appropriate for the authority that's in its maturity development and where we are in delivery of practice. One audit is currently being planned, and that relates to financial recharges and cost allocation. The assignment is to look at the governance, oversight, accountability and financial processes for the SLA agreements in place, as these form the majority of the financial transactions for the authority as it currently stands. And the outcome of this report is expected to be shared with you in February, along with the finalised report on legal compliance. There are 2 further audits to be delivered, which relate to reviewing the Constitution and also looking at your data sharing arrangements. Very happy to take any questions.
Any questions, please? Yes, Councillor.
Yes, thank you again, Chair. So, unfortunately, the page numbers don't actually tie in with the page numbers I've got on the report in front of me. So, forgive me for that, but I'm sure we can work it out. So, with reference to the performance dashboard, which is figure 1 or page, and it's page 17 in the report in front of me. The idea of the dashboard is great because it's just a quick visual overview of exactly what's going on. But I do wonder, perhaps as time progresses, that we could add in some more indicators on this performance dashboard. So, for example, if recommendations have been made as the result of a particular audit, then how many of those, what percentage have actually been implemented. But I think it's perhaps something that can happen over time, that we have a look at this regularly and make sure that it sort of meets our needs. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. If I can go on, and this is on page 18, then the very first line under the diagram says that the internal audit plan is progressing in line with expectation, with 55% of the plan delivered at the start of quarter 3. But I haven't seen, or I can't find, or I've missed it, where is this sort of target documented about how much of the plan you want needs to be delivered by the end of quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3? I've not seen that anywhere, but I could have missed it. So I just sort of picked up on that. And then also, with reference to page 18, it says that 25% on the diagram at the top, it says 25 is complete, but then on page 20 it says that no reports have been finalised. So those two pieces of information don't seem to tie up. Or maybe it's me that just, needs some further, you need to just explain it a little bit more. And then finally, on page 19, it talks on table 2 about the management responses and whether they're overdue. And it says no, but there's no time scale for that. When would the responses become overdue? How long are a team given to make responses to the finding of a particular audit. So if I can just leave it there, thank you.
To pick up on your first point, the work programme will include outstanding audit recommendations. To move to the other issues that are raised, Claire, could you provide a response, please?
Of course, happy to. So we don't have any actions that have been formally agreed yet. So once we get a finalised report, that will include what management are going to do about the areas that we found. They will identify a date for that. Once we've got that date, that then forms a separate table that will be in the report that will show you what's outstanding, what risk rating we gave it, and when they should have addressed that. If they fail to address that, that will then become an overdue action, which will then be in that table as well. There was just no point in me putting it in because there's nothing to populate it with. It will also, if it is extended, the date of the implementation is extended, that will explain to the committee what has been done and what level of risk is still outstanding as a result of the finding. So it's all based on the level of risk that's associated with the finding. So hopefully that covers your first one. Hopefully it covers your last one with the response time as well. It's all dictated by the date that management give us. If there's a high risk, as auditors, we would expect that to be addressed within 3 months. If they give us a date that is 12 months down the line, we wouldn't accept that. We would go back and have the discussion around that's not addressing it. It may be that it's addressing through milestones, so we may break it down into we expect X to be done within 3 months and then subsequent work within a longer timescale. That will be all made clear to you in the report that comes back. So hopefully that's the first and the last one that I've addressed for you. Just in relation to the 25% plan, so the plan is split across the year. It isn't just about delivering audits. It's about my time engaging with the committee. It's about my time overseeing the quality of the reports, engaging with the high-level risk assessment that we do prior to all of them. So it's a combination of everything, not just the delivery of an audit. The audit that we've issued in draft, it's almost there. We've done the field work, we've done the planning, we've done the research, we've done the actual pulling the report together. It's the final stage of are there any inaccuracies in the report that we allow management to pick up on. If they've got additional data that they think, actually, we really should have shared this with you and we didn't, it's an opportunity for us to discuss whether we'll accept that in relation to the audit, and so that our finding is a genuinely discussed finding at the end of the process. That is quite a small part of our process. So if you take in the time that I've done in the training, the time that I've delivered in the quality assurance, the oversight and the planning, we are actually a little bit now more than 25%, but that's where the 25% comes from. We have a spreadsheet that dictates all of this for us. So we put in, we mark our progress as we deliver as auditors, and that pulls out this data for us. So it's not me sitting there saying, I'll take a guess, we've done 25%. It's delivered by what's partially in progress as well as what's finalised, which is where that figure comes from. And then just to pick up on where this has originally started, this was originally agreed in the audit plan, when that was agreed back in, I want to say July, maybe June, July, somewhere around there. So that dictates when we look to do our timings. Now, sometimes there is a change to that because it could be there's something going on in the authority, having audit then dropped in causes additional stress and worry for managers, so we may postpone it. So what we've actually done is we've brought one of our audits forward that was due to be in Q4. We've brought that forward to Q3, and then the audit that we were doing in Q3, we've moved back to Q4. So overall, as long as we deliver within our window, that's our expectation. But we tend not to deliver very much at the start of the year. Q1 and the start of Q2, there's not a lot to test. So really the value that we'd add for the level of assurance we're giving would be very limited if we do everything at the start or on that quarterly basis. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of the fluidity that sits within the audit plan. And I've answered all your questions, hopefully.
Yeah, no, can I just say thank you for that? Because what you're saying, yes, I recognise from sitting on the audit committee at the City of Lincoln Council. So yes, so that's a lot of reassurance. So thank you very much for that.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to record my thanks to the internal audit team for adding this to the agenda, and it's in the work programme for every meeting. It's exactly what I asked for. And I think as well, the table that you give on page 9 or page 21, depending which one you look at, is really, really clear, and I'm really looking forward to it populating. A little bit light at the moment, as you would expect at this stage, but I think it's going to provide some great information going forward, so thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Any more questions at all? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. In relation to page 18, Councillor Beale was asking, is there any training or potentially any training available if it were appropriate to this actual committee? That's on the second paragraph of page 18.
Yes, I can come back on that. There is a training plan that will be
Thank you.
put in place. It's been discussed. What we're aiming to do is to get the links to any relevant training attached to the, possibly attached to the agenda, so members have the training at the right time for the meetings. As you're aware, Councillor, we've all been on training where we've had the training and the agenda item hasn't come up for 6 months, and by which time we've lost track of what the training was about. So we will make sure that the training is the right training at the right time.
Thank you. There was just a second point as well on page 19, the first line of the high-level risks. The terms of reference were agreed in October. I think you just wanted clarification. Is that October 24 or October 25?
October 25.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor. Any more? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Claire. I just wanted to come to the PAQs on page 17 or page 5. It does explain it in some detail of how the feedback is used from the PAQs. Would you just be able to sort of give a verbal description of how they'll be used to improve the audit quality after they've been reviewed?
So what we tend to do is we ask the range of these questions that are in that table. Depending on what comes out of it, it's unpicking whether we're getting negative feedback because it's a poor outcome that they didn't want, rather than the quality of the report. So there tends to, if somebody comes back with anything below good, I tend to have a conversation with the author of that feedback form to understand what they're concerned about, what's driven that feedback. That then feeds into whether we could do things any better. So if it's about communication, we can talk about how we can make that better in relation to the auditor's individual delivery, or if it's about a quality process and it's something that's unlikely but something that's missed our quality processes, we can then look at our quality programme to make sure that we don't have a repeat of whatever that incident may or may not have been. We use all of the feedback we get from all clients to inform that, because we use the same methodology across all of the clients. So regardless of where the feedback comes from, that always feeds into the quality that we're producing for whichever client it is. So hopefully that answers your question without having a specific that I can pick up and give you an example of.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any more questions at all, please? It is proposed that we approve the Internal Audit Progress Report 2025-26 Internal Audit Plan. Please, may I have a proposer? Thank you. Please, may I have a seconder? We will now vote. Those in favour? No one against? No one against? Thank you. We'll move on to the review of the authority's constitution, item 5. Welcome Nicola to introduce this. Just to give members some background, each combined authority has its own unique structures in place. The two boards that are mentioned in the constitution, the Business Infrastructure Board and I think the Skills Board, there is one combined authority, Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, that operate on a similar model. Research on South Yorkshire and Teesside show they have the same functions but with different activity. I'll move on to Nicola to take you through. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And firstly, to start with an apology to members for the lateness of circulating this report. It arrived on the agenda at the last moment as a reactive approach and to ensure that it came to this meeting rather than making it wait until your next meeting, which is not until February. So apologies for the delay of the report. That wouldn't be normal, and I hope that everybody has had an opportunity to have a look at it before this meeting, but I will take you through it very briefly. You will probably have a review of the Constitution report on most of your agendas going forward, and that's because this is an evolving authority, and we are honing the rules around it and finding new ways in which to develop the governance of the authority, and so we will be bringing forward changes on a fairly regular basis during this period of growth. At part 3 in the report, you'll see the shaded boxes at the top. They are items that this committee have already reviewed and have gone forward to the GLCCA for approval and are now part of your constitution. Those that are not shaded and have appendices attached to this report are the ones that we will look at this meeting, and the next section of boxes at part 3 are those that are planned to come forward. So that's just to describe what that is for future reference when we go through these type of reports. So there are 2 items to bring forward for you to consider today prior to it being considered at the GLCCA at their next meeting. The first is the terms of reference for the GLCCA boards. So you will have seen these terms of reference before at this committee. When we brought them previously, we were looking at the consequential amendments of the authority procedure rules and how that incorporated into the terms of reference. So that was a governance approach to those meetings. Subsequent to that, the terms of reference for each of the boards is going back to each of their next board meetings for them to have a look at their remit and to make sure that that remit is correct for them. 2 of those boards have met and considered their terms of reference, and they're appended with the changes suggested by those boards. The Transport Board is to consider their terms of reference on the 12th of this month, so those terms of reference will go directly to GLCCA for them to consider. So having a look at Appendix A, you will see a number of small changes that the Business and Infrastructure Board and the Employment and Skills Board have put forward for your consideration. On the first appendix, the Business and Infrastructure Board, very minor changes. There's some clarification over the voting membership. It was raised that there may be a little bit of ambiguity in that to say that one of the voting members could be the mayor or the deputy mayor when acting as their substitute. So it was just to provide that clarity, and I will put that into the terms of reference for all the boards, which you'll notice there, even though it came out of that meeting. They also wanted to incorporate a reporting mechanism to ensure that actions between meetings was communicated to the members of that board. That would be done standard, but they did want that recording within their terms of reference, so they have put it forward for you to consider. The Employment and Skills Board focused on the terminology within there, so there's quite a few changes to make sure that the ASF was properly referred to within the terms of reference to make sure that the responsibilities around that were put forward. They also looked at their membership as well in terms of advice on key stakeholders to make sure that that was clear, that it was around constituent and non-constituent members. And they would be the changes that are put forward from that board. The second appendix, Appendix B, incorporates a gift and hospitality protocol, which currently this authority doesn't have agreed and in place. So this is a protocol that is being put forward. It's a standard protocol, similar to you would find at your own authorities. The points that I wanted to raise were the limits that are suggested around gifts and hospitality. So £50 for registering receipt of a single gift or hospitality, but also incorporating a limit of £100 for over the term of a 12-month period. So that could be 3 gifts from the same source that were 30, 30, 40, but would fall under this if it wasn't captured under that. So that's the suggestion going forward. And I'm happy to take any comments or amendments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. With regard to the gifts and hospitality, Internal Audit will at some stage look at this policy. There's also the issue of family benefits as well. May I take any questions from members at all, please? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Running through page 24, 1.25, re-binding constraints. Have you got any examples of what those binding constraints might be, please? And then, if I may go on to page 26, membership 2.1, where it says Deputy Mayor, there is an assumption that the Deputy Mayor will adhere to the guidance or instructions given to be the elected Mayor. And 2.2, if there's no political balance, how or who will challenge the decisions? And at 2.5, will the membership include lay members, or is this what 5.4 is saying? And I've got one or two other items. Shall I continue on those, Chair, or...?
Thank you, through your chair. I tried to jot those down as quickly as I could so that I could answer them. The last one you may need to ask you to repeat if that's okay. So you first was the point on page 24. Could you just point me again to where points you're
It was
looking at?
1.25, re-binding constraints.
That would be a technical question in regard to that committee that I wouldn't be able to answer, but that is definitely something that I could find out and report back to you if you had a query on it. But that would be a technical business question that I wouldn't be able to answer. Apologies for that.
Thank you.
The next point you raised was page 26,
Yep.
2.1, and that was assurance that the Deputy Mayor would be bound by the same rules as the Mayor. That's absolutely correct. Of course, they would be, so if they're acting as their substitute. So all the rules apply to all members at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
And then it was 2.2 in regard to political balance. Could you just repeat your query?
If there's no political balance, how or who will challenge the decisions?
So because it's an executive committee, it's a committee of the executive, which is the GLCCA board, which is the setup that is here at GLCCA. Their decisions of that board are subject to pre and post scrutiny through the scrutiny process in the same way that the GLCCA is.
Thank you. 2.5, will membership include lay members, or is this what 5.4 is saying?
Thank you. So in regard to the board's membership, they are, when we're talking about lay members, we're talking about the non-voting members that are not elected members. So that would be at 2.1, a business member appointed from the Economic Advisory Panel and any other co-opted members. The boards do intend to co-opt appropriate people to join them.
Thank you. If I may move on, page 30, 2.2, read the Deputy Mayor, same question as previous. And 2.3, read political balance, same question as above.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. It would be the same response as before on those both questions.
And Appendix B, in relation to gifts and hospitality, with any offer of gifts or hospitality, should the member or officer advise the person offering the said gift or hospitality that it is a requirement that the offer must be recorded regardless of whether accepted? And then page 36 at 5.1, albeit the member may not be aware of being a beneficiary until after the death of the donor.
Okay, she'll just scan through to have a look at that. In regards to advice, there would be advice that would be offered to any members. Obviously, when it comes to officers, we couldn't advise a member on something that we weren't aware of or they didn't raise with us. I think that in terms of ensuring that members have the correct guidance, I would recommend that this form part of induction training for members and part of the code of conduct training that should be delivered to members by the GLCCA should they require it. But advice would be on hand for the interpretation of this protocol. And then you raised 5.1. In regards to a member not being aware that they were in receipt until afterwards. I would assume sometimes that may happen. On that, in that scenario, I would recommend that members would seek advice of the monitoring officer on how best to navigate that situation.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, Councillor. You wanted to raise something.
I'm normally loud, but that's okay. So, yeah, just going forward, there's a danger. This is a public-facing document that we actually put internal jargon in it, and that's evident on the Employment and Skills Board 1.2 and 1.4, where we refer to the ASF about 3 times. We never explain what it is. As a public-facing document, I think we should, and I just think when we're going forward, can we make sure that if we use an acronym, we use the standard protocol where we put the name in full to start with, then the brackets, then the acronym, and then we can refer to it through. You're reading it, and if you don't know what it is, it just creates an issue. So it's just for future ones, if we could just be really clear as public-facing documents, please. But no issue with the content, thank you.
That's something that can be easily corrected. Councillor Patrick, you had a question.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Across both committees, 2.5, the board may appoint one or more subcommittees for the purpose of discharging any of the board's functions. Can I ask how would those boards be expected to, the mechanism to trigger a subcommittee?
Thank you. Any comments at all, please?
So where, and you'll be aware as members, when you're looking at delegated responsibility, anything to do with the terms of reference, if the board themselves felt that a subcommittee of the committee could manage that item to report back, that subcommittee wouldn't have decision-making power on that matter. It would be a referral back. It would be in the same way that a working group would operate to consider an item and then make recommendations back to the parent committee or board. Does that answer your question, or would you like some further clarification?
Thank you, Chair. That explains it partially, although, again, going back to our colleague's point about this is a public-facing document, my interpretation of that was there would be the ability of the board to effectively create part of the board to discharge their functions. It doesn't actually elaborate that that's actually a board recommendation or it's effectively a working group. So perhaps some clearer wording that actually would be a working group as opposed to be just effectively perhaps half of the committee meeting to make decisions for the other half.
That's fine. That can be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. When we take it through to GLCCA, I'll consider some wording to add in to make sure that's clear. Thank you.
Any further comments at all, by anyone? Yeah, Mark Bolling.
Sorry, this might be covered elsewhere, but I've looked for references to if these meetings will be held publicly, the openness and transparency. Is that covered elsewhere by another document, or could we have that hardwired into the Constitution?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Yes, it's hardwired through the Constitution. This is an executive meeting of the authority, and therefore there's a requirement that it would be held in public in every way that we would do with a normal committee.
Any further comments at all or questions? Thank you. It is proposed that the Audit Committee considers the proposed amendments and additions to the authority's constitution detailed in its appendices. The Audit Committee considers the proposed plan for the ongoing review of the Constitution and recommends the amendments, additions and plan for adoption by the authority. Subject to the changes that we've discussed in this meeting, may I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor. May I have a seconder? Thank you. We will vote. Those in favour, please? Thank you. Anyone against? No. Thank you very much indeed. Moving on to item number 6, the Audit Committee Work Programme. Just to give some background to this, members, we started off with the first meeting with an original work programme. There were some suggestions made about additions to it, and a comment that was made earlier in the meeting was about risk management, for which I'd like to ask Debbie Simpson, as Section 73 Officer, just to give a brief update on the risk management element of the work programme before I go into any detail about any of the further items, please.
Thank you, Chair. So following the last meeting, there's been a lot of work undertaken on the risk register and the risk management framework. And subsequent to that, both of those items have been under testing, practical testing with the management team to make sure we've got the right risks and the processes that we're suggesting actually work. Recently, responsibility for risk has transferred to myself, and I've been developing the risk framework further by adding a risk management strategy and also a finance risk management strategy, which are two documents that all the documents sit alongside each other and work together. So I felt it was important we had the whole suite of documents rather than just individual ones. So we're working through all of those. We're going to quality assure all the documents, make sure everything works as it should do as a coherent whole. And then the proposal is that we bring that back to the next committee meeting so that you can have a look at what we're doing and what we're proposing. And I think you will find out with everything with this authority, it is new. So they're not meant to be documents that will be set in stone anyway, but documents that we'll continually review as the organisation grows to make sure they're fit for purpose. So that's the plan, and I'm happy to take any questions from the committee on that.
There is a further amendment to this document, and my apologies for this, and that is for the February meeting, where the annual internal audit report will go to the February 27 meeting, not the February 26 meeting. Following on from this information, can I ask members for any comments at all, please? Anything they'd like to raise, please? It's a fluid document. It's going to at every meeting it will change. But what we're trying to do is to capture the key areas that which the audit committee should look at as part of its remit. Thank you. Any questions at all, please? Thank you, Councillor.
Just one, if I may, please. And it was mentioned earlier about training for us as councillors.
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate to put aside 10-15 minutes at the beginning of some of these meetings for training on a specific item that's going to come up in that meeting so that we're current and fresh with it, so we don't take additional time or be given homework to do? We actually spend 10-15 minutes at the beginning looking at things like for the February, maybe the annual audit statement or the accounts. We had a little bit of training on that so we can actually have a more informed discussion at that meeting, and it just keeps us up to date with everything. It's just a suggestion for the members, really.
We can gladly do that. Any other comments at all? Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I don't know, maybe I missed this, but looking at the 4th of February 2026, there's the annual report, which is the first item. So was that the one to be moved? Am I right in thinking that? Or what is it, an annual report of?
That's the annual internal audit report, which is going to be moved to February 2027.
Right, okay, thank you. Right, okay, just want a clarification on that. And then it talks about the fraud register, and then in brackets after that it says exempt. So can I have a little bit of clarification on exactly what that means, please? Thank you.
Yes, of course. Each organisation has its own fraud risk register. This register is normally dealt with as an exempt item because of the sensitivity of the content. That is the grounds. The key thing about the fraud risk register is it's about what could happen or what has happened. So that's why we have a separate fraud risk register. I hope that we have the generic risk register, which deals with the everyday activities of the organisation, and we also, with some organisations, have a separate fraud risk register.
So, sorry, so that means that there's a general thing, and then some of the issues, they will not be for the public to see. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right.
Right. So that's why it's exempt. So, because just reading it, it sort of seems to suggest that we're exempt from having a fraud register, which seemed to be didn't seem to sit quite right. Okay, then that's fine. So just under that, I suppose I can wait until, maybe I can't wait until February. But I know there's been some recent legislation which goes under the sort of title of failure to prevent, not present. And I just wondered, and I'm sure it has been, whether that's been taken into consideration, because I know it is very new. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire, you wanted to... Sorry, my apologies.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to expand on the earlier answer around the fraud register. How I would envisage this working, because again, it's something new to the organisation, is that we will probably report on the number of fraud allegations there have been, but then to share the detail of what that may be with the committee, we would probably go into closed session then, but we would only go into closed session if it met the criteria for doing so.
Yep, thank you.
Any further questions at all, please? Any comments? Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to ask, please, when we're going to look at Q1 and Q2 accounts.
Debbie, would you like to... as far as I'm aware, the Q1 and Q2 accounts, that's management accounts, so that's outside of the remit of the Audit Committee. The Audit Committee deals with the final accounts. Correct me if I'm wrong, Debbie.
No, I think that's right, Chair. So overview and scrutiny will look at the numbers. This committee, being the Audit Committee, would look at any audits that have been undertaken on those numbers to get that separation. So that may be internal audit, but it will definitely be external audit.
Thank you.
So can I clarify then, please, Chair? When will we see the end-of-year accounts? Is that what we're referring to?
It will be end-of-year accounts because we haven't had any accounts yet. We had an extended year with this being our first year. So the first set of accounts and the first discussions with the external auditors will be early next year when they will come to the committee and discuss what the timetable for the audit will be. And then you will see the final audit report in around June time, May, June, when the work's been done.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions at all, please? Thank you. I move that we note the report and approve the existing work programme. Does anyone dissent? Thank you. This concludes the business of the meeting. As a meeting summary, the GLCCA is a new and evolving organisation. It's transitioning from being a name on a piece of paper to a strategic delivery tool. As such, our role as an audit committee is to ensure good governance whilst this activity takes place. Our agendas and our actions will respond to these events. So thank you for all your patience and understanding. We are in a fluid situation. Once the GLCCA is fully up and running and fully established, things will settle down. Thank you very much indeed for all your attendance at the meeting. The time is now 10:55. Thank you very much indeed.